Hello, happy final Friday of 2024. That's so wild and crazy to say, but we are at the end of the year. And I just realized as I looked back in my camera that we have a stack of books back here because Evie's been playing while I was working this morning. Hello, hello. I'm so very glad to be here with you today because I am feeling it's that end of year feeling of gratitude and excitement and just feeling like I feel like we've come so far together. You know what I mean? Like we started out coffee chats. I mean, really, I started doing little live streams in my Facebook group years and years ago. Some of you will remember that, a few of you. And that was fun. And we would read chapters and do fun stuff, whatever. But then, of course, things escalated during the pandemic and we started coffee chats and readings and stuff like that. And now here I am planning out a new reading, a new chapter for YouTube and Broken Chapter Society and everything else in 2025. And yay, Heidi remembers. Hello, hello. It was the best. It was so fun and it was really intimate, but there would be maybe 20 to 50 people live, and to the fact that we now have hundreds of people live and thousands who watch the replay. I just want you to know every one of you matters to me. You all do. And I just appreciate you so much. I have kind of been thinking a lot over the past few days about 2025 and exactly why does it show that I'm glowing? Do you mean just my face? It's probably because I'm in the middle of a giant window. I have an arched window that's like a stacked window in front of me. So it's like my very best lighting possible, if that's what you mean. I have been thinking a lot about New Year's and all of those things that we have been through together over the past few years and what's left to come over the next few years. And I spent 2 hours this morning on a call with Becca Mysore, who is known as the fairy plot mother. I'm going to be working with her more closely to try to write faster because what we're going to talk about today is like routines and how to really transform your life using routines, using your habits, and how to set things up for success. Because as I'm thinking a lot about 2025 and the things that I want to change and all the things that I've learned over the past couple of years, just number one being, if I don't have the right foundations set up, I can force my way to success by I feel like so much of what I'm doing right now is things that I want to do, but at the same time, because I don't have all the foundations under me that I want to have, I also feel like I'm climbing a mountain with a giant heavy weight on my shoulders, and I'm constantly trying to push myself into the right timeline. And I don't think that that is the way I'm going to level up to where I want to be next. And so I have to kind of shift and think about, what are the routines I need to set up? What are the habits I need to set up? What are the foundations that need to be here for me to really be able to show up for you guys 100%? And I am so sick and tired of feeling like I need to apologize all the time because things are late, and I really, yeah, all those adulty words, responsibility, all of those kinds of things. It's just like what I mean is, like, if I say, let's do giveaways for October Spooktacular, I'm going to send those out in November, and here it is December and they're not all sent yet. Right. So it's just, I'm not a superhero, but I act like it when I'm promising things to people. And that's kind of what I mean, because I think that I can do it and I can follow through. But then if I get sick or something else takes precedent, then I have to let things slide. So we talked a lot in HB90 about juggling and kind of knowing which things are glass balls and which things are rubber balls. And so I feel like I let a lot of rubber balls drop, and I rarely let glass balls drop, thankfully, but I do let too many rubber balls drop, and I'm just wanting to be better about that. And I know that the only way for that to happen is for me to get my routines in order, to get better support systems here at home and in my business, and to keep working. Thank you. So this was my gift from Evie. She says pretty rings. the kids do a little, the kids do a little it's called Advent Market at their school where you get to give them money or whatever, and they go in and people have donated things to the store. It's a fundraiser for the school. And I didn't know how much to give them. So I gave each kid like $50 because they were supposed to be getting presents for me, for George, for his parents, for my sister, for the babysitter. And I thought, well, I don't know how much they're gonna they're gonna buy. And Andrew ended up for all those people, he spent like $20. So he just gave the rest of the money to Evie. So sweet little 5-year-old Evie had like literally $70 to spend in the store. And it turned out that they had lots of little things like this that cost like $3. The number of things that she bought me like 5 rings. She bought George like 4 or 5 different things. And the way her eyes lit up, and she said, uh, I hope that you wear them every day, mommy. It's just like the cutest thing. And then this little necklace was Andrew's gift to me, and it just says number 1 mom. So these are my new bling. It's the sweetest. It's the cutest. Like my kids are amazing kids. I just love them. We went to Gaylord, Texan for our annual kind of trip away. And in previous years, they've always had at the Gaylord Texan. So you've got the hotel, which is incredible in and of itself. If you've never stayed at a Gaylord hotel, it's amazing. Christmas lights everywhere. There's trees and like a river flowing inside the hotel. It's just incredible. But then they have a convention center. And in the convention center, they set up snow tubing where you literally have like a giant hill of fake ice that you can slide down and go over and over. And they have an ice skating rink. They have Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer was the display this year where they use something like, I don't know. I don't know how many pounds of ice, but it's just like thousands of pounds of ice. And for 3 months, they've been carving them into these sculptures. And so you get to go through, but it's 9 degrees. So you have to put on these, like all these super winter clothing to go through it. And this year we were smart because in previous years, the kids get so cold, we have to rush through the ending, even though we put them in multiple layers of stuff and they give you these big jackets. So this year we bought 2 tickets. We bought the tickets for the whole family. And then because Andrew's 12 now and he can watch Evie for a few minutes, we left them in the room to go down and do it again. So we got to go through it again and actually like enjoy it by ourselves. But they have like a carousel and all that stuff. And this was the first year that the kids wanted to do like ice skating and everything. But sadly, I'm the only one who fell, and I kind of miniature sprained my wrist on top of literally everything. So I'm like, come on. I was doing fine. I was really doing fine on the ice skating, but I was trying to get to George, and this other little girl who probably was about 6 or 7 was going the wrong way and was like, and she was about to fall. And I was like, I'm going to slam into her. So I basically had to fall to avoid her. And I was the only one who got hurt, but it was really, really fun. And it was the kids' first time on the ice. And we just had a blast. But I am understanding from the past few weeks that pneumonia is not really something to be joked with. I mean, I wasn't joking with it, but I was kind of treating it like, okay, I'm feeling a little better. I think I'm on the mend. Now it's go time because I have all these books to send. I have all these, I had courses that I needed to deliver. I wanted to redo parts of your Manifest Your Best Year. I had just this huge list of stuff to do. And so I got right back to work. Very first day I was feeling better, and I'm still struggling some nights to breathe and to go up and down the stairs and ice skating, all of that. I was like, okay, I need to take it easy. It's really hard for me to slow down. It is really, really hard for me to slow down, which is going to play into this discussion about routines, because I think that this has all been right on time kind of lesson for me that it is time to slow down just a little bit. Yay. Happy New Year, everybody. It is truly a lesson to continue to refine the way that I want to manifest my life, because I know things that I want, but I think this period of time and being sick and everything else has been a lesson and even the pain of feeling like, oh my gosh, everything still has not gone. Like, I saw some people talking about getting their books, which I'm so glad that you did get your books. But if you ordered your books here in 2024, those books have not gone out. I sent all the books from 2023, which took days and days of work. And I was so proud we got them out before Christmas. So hopefully those should be arriving. Many people have gotten them already. If you're overseas, probably going to be a little bit of time. But we're going to try our best to get all the rest of the books out in the next few days, or the next week. We're going to try before we go to Raleigh. But it's just that pain of feeling like, oh, I can't do it all. I can't do it all. And I want so badly to do it all. That feeling of like, okay, I got to slow down and get better, like systems in place for myself. Oh, you got yours on Christmas Eve. I'm so glad, earlier this week. Yay, Christmas Eve too. We were trying so hard to get them out. So I'm glad some of you, I know some people are still getting theirs. Some people are still waiting for yours, but if you ordered them in 2024, they have not gone out yet, but I will get them out as soon as I can. But just feeling like, okay, how do I find a way to get to peak performance where I'm following through on everything I said? Because as I think about Broken Chapter Society, I still haven't gotten the back end set up. We still haven't gotten the Discord server set up. I haven't sent the mail out yet. And I got a message from somebody saying that they hadn't gotten their stuff yet and they can't check to see if I sent it out because they unsubscribed, but they still want their mail. And I'm like, I totally understand. I've got to get, because it makes sense. It's like some people subscribe to get founders, but you can't necessarily stay subscribed. And I'm like, oh man, I got to get these things out. So it's like hanging over me. And I'm like, I want this to feel super fun. I want this to feel like I'm surprising you, that I'm delighting you, that I'm showing up on time, that the story is amazing, and everybody will get to enjoy the story. But let me tell you, I know I'm talking in circles a little bit, but I will revisit that moment in just a second about my work with Becca this morning. But I just am determined. I don't necessarily want to slow down fully because I don't think it's in my personality, but I want to slow down on the stress. I want to slow down on the expectations that I'm putting at myself. Oh my gosh, 6, that's so sweet. Thank you so much for that. So some of you will, if you gift memberships, it will randomly gift it to 10 people here in the chat. So thank you for that. It's very sweet. But I'm working on the back end to make sure that everything gets done. But the way that my heart is so full of gratitude for those of you that are in this, that you understand me, that you know that my heart is there. And it's just a matter of, I got to get the stuff done faster, and I'm trying, but the patience that you guys have, like you guys are more patient with me than I am with myself. And it just means a lot to me to know that I have that support and that we've built this community over time. So that's just a big part of what I'm thinking about as we head into 2025. Talking about Broken Chapter Society and A Mirror of Shadows, which I need to get cover art for. And I keep forgetting that I need to get a cover art. I need to hire someone. If you have a fantasy cover artist or you are a fantasy cover artist, reach out, because I'm like, oh my gosh, who am I going to hire? Because my main cover artist is not going to be available to do this fast enough. None of my cover artists are. I'm going to need somebody new. At least to get things moving. But I am so excited about this story. Becca, Mysore, and I spent 2 hours this morning. She's in London, and it was fun to be like jet setting. She's on her way to the Maldives pretty soon, which is one of my dream places to go visit. Those overwater bungalows, like someday it needs to go on my vision board. But we spent 2 full hours talking through characters and twists and things like that. And one of the things that I have realized that I can do for myself is to step forward and say, okay, where are the places that I need help and support, and how can I get that for myself? How can I sort of hack my own system, so to speak? So this is where we're going to talk about routines, because I think this is super, super helpful, and maybe it will help you too. HB90 was last week, but if you want, we did daily co-working, which I think went super, super well. It was really, really fun. So if you want to, all of those are recorded and you can find them in the class. Yay, Jess. Thank you so much for that. Um, I dream of staying over water bungalow in Tahiti. Yes, let's do it. Oh my gosh. So fun. The co-working was really fun. It was really fun. I really loved it, honestly. Um, Oh, this is so sweet, Vanessa. I get that help from you. You've helped me stay on track this year. I'm so glad to hear that because that's definitely one of my goals. Part of why I'm part of the BCS is to say thank you for your free content. I'm just here for the ride. Thank you, Stephanie. 300 people. Hey, Christina. Thank you for your sweet comment about the disappearance of Vanessa Shaw. That made my day the other day. Can't do the Maldives. My PA went there and sent pictures. Are you saying there's something bad about it? Or are you just... it's too far away. Went to Tahiti for 4 hours. We had to land for a medical emergency. No, oh my gosh. Well, at least you got a little bit of time in Tahiti. I've had pneumonia so many times. Just remember, it leaves you vulnerable to respiratory issues in the future. Oh my gosh, I did not know that, Lillian. Thank you. It's too hot. Yeah, I believe that. Okay. Becca and I spent 2 hours talking through A Mirror of Shadows, and the twists, so one of the things I know that would help me is I want to finish these books one after the other because I want to finish book 12 of the Shadow Demon Saga this year. Thank you, Christina. Top 3 books of 2024. Disappearance of Vanessa Shaw. Thank you. But what I want to do, my intention for this, and I really hope and pray that I can do it, is to basically begin A Mirror of Shadows, hopefully early February, and read the story probably here on YouTube at this same time of day. But I'm going to do some polls to see what you guys want, or you can feel free to put it in the comments right now. I think I'm going to read Mondays and Wednesdays, and then we'll have Friday coffee chat. I'm trying to kind of decide. And then what we might do is a Saturday Broken Chapter Society extra, not every week, but sometimes, for people in the Broken Chapter Society to talk about the behind the scenes of what's happening in the story so far. What are your predictions, different stuff like that. So I think it would be fun, and I can give some behind the scenes and some bonus chapters. This is a good question. Do I need to be caught up on shadow demons to understand A Mirror of Shadows? You do not. You can be completely new to the world to get A Mirror of Shadows, and it's not going to spoil anything that you haven't read yet because this series takes place before Harper exists. So this will be like if let's say Harper's born, I mean, right now we're kind of like stretching things, but let's say she's born at some point in the 2010s-ish. This series is going to, I believe, take place closer to like 1980 time frame. So this is going to be decades before Harper existed, and part of this series will play into the final book, but it'll be kind of like it'll be fine if you haven't read them both, but people that only read one might be interested in seeing the backgrounds of the others. Behind the scenes, it's going to be so fun. So what I want to do is start in February, read 2 episodes a week, which would be like 2 chapters a week. I think it'll be about like when we did Which is Key, we spent, at first it was kind of like 30 to 40 minutes. So we'd read for 20 or 30 minutes and then do a little bit of chatting, and then it grew to being about an hour. So I think it will probably be about an hour of readings, but some of it will be chat. And it will also, if it works out perfectly, we'll see. I'm working with an executive at Spotify to get this also as a podcast on Spotify. So the thing that goes up on Spotify will be just the readings and not the chat. So yeah, pink jelly bracelets and jelly shoes and all the good stuff, right? That would be so fun to put in there. But so it will be a podcast for you to be able to listen to, or you can have it live on YouTube, but that should make it easier for people to catch up if you aren't able to like show up 3 times a week for the live streaming and stuff like that. So we are going to read 2 episodes a week. Right now, I'm plotting it to be 12 episodes total per book, 4 books. And so if I look at the schedule, it's basically going to be somewhere around, let's say, 6 to 8 weeks of reading. And so every 2 months we will have a book. So the way that it will work is, and then I'm going to get into routines, I promise. But the way it will work is it'll be those 6 to 8 weeks of reading, and the book will be going up for pre-order, and you can get the book. And so if you don't want to listen to me reading it live, you can just purchase the book on pre-order and read it all at once, like a normal book. But there will be 4 of those books come out next year. And when the final book comes out, hopefully, book 12 of the Shadow Demon Saga will also be up for pre-order at that time. So as Becca and I are talking through this, we're talking about not just the A Mirror of Shadows story, but also how this ties in and how I'm going to finish the Shadow Demon Saga. Because one of the things I started to realize that I was missing in terms of getting books out more often is, number one, talking through it. I am, if you're familiar with strengths, and Becca Syme, which some of you are, is communication is one of my highest strengths, right? It's in my top 5 strengths. And so for me, one of the fastest ways I can get to figuring out a story is always talking through it. And Disappearance of Vanessa Shaw was a difficult book to talk through with anyone because there were so many different points of view and having to explain it all and the secrets and how this affects everything. It just existed in my brain, and it made it very difficult for me to talk through it with anybody but George, because it was just like, I don't know, I don't have time to explain to you all the twists in this series or in this book. But with A Mirror of Shadows, we're kind of starting fresh. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to work with Becca. And I can tell already from this morning that this is going to be a game changer for my writing, because she lets me just talk it through, and then she'll kind of, ask the right kinds of questions. And it really started to pull the twists out of me early. And so I'm really excited. And let me tell you, when we came up with some of the twists, I had 3 separate occasions during that 2-hour live stream today, or that 2-hour meeting today, where I had full body chills. It's going to be so good. And the way this will play into the 12th book of the Shadow Demon Saga, as well as the next spinoff that's coming, by the way, it's going to be super fun. So I'm excited for it. And I just want to be able to follow through. And I will be probably I think probably what I'll do, it'll depend. I don't want to say for sure how much time I'm going to take off between books, but I will be taking a little bit of time between books. No, not Becca Syme. I said this is going to be the year of Becca's, because Rebecca K. Sampson is one of my very best friends, and we're finally going to get to meet in person. And I'm working with Becca Mysore for the books, but Becca Syme is a strengths coach. She's not my coach, but she is. And then my main character of this series is called Becca, except we call her Bex. So this is the year of Becca. It's just all my life is filled with Beccas this next year. But it's going to be amazing. I don't know for sure how much time I will take off, because I don't want to be behind on series, because I feel like if I'm reading it and then having to quickly write it before Monday, it's going to stress me out. So I want to be maybe 6 to 10 weeks ahead. So that's why I'm not starting to read it in January, even though I've started writing it. I'm going to probably start it in February, but I'm not going to announce it till I know for sure that I am in a good place where I'm a few weeks ahead. And that way I can always stay on track. So even if I get behind somewhere along the way, I still have a few episodes ready to go. So that's the plan. We shall see how it will turn out. You guys will be along for the ride, but I don't want to be so far ahead that I can't. Part of the thing I love about doing it live is when you guys get excited about a twist or a character, like the way that you guys loved Uncle Martin as much as you did, and I didn't expect that. It allows me to write more of that character in, and to sort of play around with the world a little bit. So I don't want to be so far ahead that I cannot get get things moving. The readings will be for everybody. They're going to be public, just like this coffee chat. But the Broken Chapter Society members will get some extras behind the scenes, but the story will be available for everybody. Jennifer is like the ultimate 80s name, right? Or 70s name. I don't know. 70s, 80s, because I think we had like 4 Jennifers in my class, and there were only like 100 of us total. It's such a great name though. Some of my favorite people are named Jennifer. So the readings will be available for everybody, but then there'll be some behind the scenes kind of like live streams and posts and other things like that for Broken Chapter members, as well as things that will go in the mail for some of the tiers and different things like that. I'm excited. I hope you can tell. I am so excited. The thing I'm trying to hold off on being disappointed is, this is one of those things like trust your intuition, because when George and I first moved into this house, so this was 3 years ago, I said, well, it will be 3 years ago, coming up in February. I said to him when we were walking, I was like, I feel like there's something else that I don't know yet to be able to finish book 12. And I feel like intuitively I'm getting this message that says you should write a spinoff, because something in that series is going to open and unlock the final book. And I think I've mentioned this before, that I got on a mastermind call and somebody was like, well, if I was one of your fans, I would hate you for doing that. I would be so mad for you writing something other than the final book. And I was like, oh, I can't do it. And it's like, I don't blame that person. I just blame myself for not trusting my own intuition and being scared that people would abandon me, because now I've written none of it, right? And I could have spent the last 3 years writing that series and book 12 would have been out by now. So this is just another lesson of like, trust your intuition. And when the universe says to you, do this, even if it doesn't make sense to other people, do the thing, right? Because I could have, but I'm also going to trust that this is exactly the time that it was meant to be, because like I said, there are contracts being signed on the back end of things, and opportunities that are opening for me that would not have been here 3 years ago. And we will see where it all leads, but I feel like it's going to lead someplace really special. And so we'll see how it all pans out. But it's fun for me, and I think it'll be really fun for you. And that's part of why I want to make it open to everybody. And not make it something you have to pay for. It'll just be free for you to listen to. And then if you want bonus things, then you can come join Broken Chapter. The universe has plans. This is so true. And confidence and trust in 2025. And my word is radiant, and it really, or radiance, I don't know which one, radiant. I think I'm going to use radiant, but it is, I feel like we are being guided. And I feel like if we can tap into that voice inside us that says, it's time to develop routines, or there might be a voice for you that's right now saying it's time to break free of your routines. And it doesn't matter what anyone else tells you to do. If you can trust yourself, it's always going to lead you in the right place. And I have been feeling guided into some better routines for myself in terms of health and really all of it, like health, wealth, support, my writing, that I have had people tell me you have to stop trying to run 2 different brands, 2 different businesses. But for me, I just feel like, no, I am meant to be both. I am meant to be a storyteller who also helps people get their stories out in the world. Like, I know that is my purpose in life. So the question is just, how do I do it? How do I do it all? And I feel like it's getting more and more clarified over time. And so here's my thoughts on routines for 2025, because when I start thinking about what really needs to change in the past, the way that I have approached change. So for example, just wanting to write more. So I tried in 2023, I tried a writer reset where I was like, okay, I'm going to focus on just getting back to the joy of writing. And that was pivotal for me. However, the writing still wasn't fully coming together. And it was like, why not? And it really took, George was the one who was the sucker punch, which surprises none of us because he's my muse. But he was just like, you think you've been working on this book all this time because it's been in your head to be working on it. But he's like, in terms of how much time you've actually spent talking through the book, thinking through the book, really getting immersed in the book rather than just 30 minutes here, 20 minutes here is almost nothing. He's like, you really haven't dedicated yourself to it. And he's like, you have to be the one to decide. Are you a YouTuber, author, course creator who sometimes writes as a hobby, or are you a writer who does YouTube? And it was just like immediate sucker punch, right? Because it was like, oh man, I mean, I'm both, but at the core, I'm a writer. And that's why I even have a YouTube channel and courses, because of the work I've done here. And so I started, that was sort of the eye-opening moment of realizing that I can't just make time for my writing in the cracks of all my other responsibilities. That if I want to do it the way that I need to do it, that I feel that I want to do it, that I'm feeling called to do it, it has to become more of a priority for me. And it is, it is a challenge, but I'm up to the challenge and I'm feeling more excited about it than I have been probably ever. So here's how I'm approaching it. And you guys will get to see in real time whether it's working or not. Jeez. We'll see. Routines. So here's my advice on it. Here's what I'm following for myself. And if it is going to work, we'll see. I think it will. Know why you want it. So this is always the first step for me. And it might not be as like kind of influential of a thing for you as it is for me. But for me, I know I have to really get clear on why I want this particular life. And I'm not just talking about why I want to write A Mirror of Shadows. Like, I'm talking about when I close my eyes, I have like super, super clear vision of the person that I want to be and the kind of life I want to live. And I'm already living a lot of it, but I have a very clear vision on what that next level can look like for me. And I need to keep my eye front and center on that life. And then every time, so I'll give you a little example of the kind of, I'm almost like, don't want to talk about it, but I'm going to talk about it for now because we're going there. We're going to be honest. But I promise I will not dwell on it. Just earlier today, I was feeling more, I feel like I did not get a good night's sleep last night. And I was feeling almost more sick today than I was over the past couple of days. The coughing is still there. Like, it is better, but I did not feel great this morning. And I felt super tired. Luckily, my conversation with Becca rejuvenated me, but I think it's because I spent a lot of time cleaning yesterday and setting up my office, and I was very active in my body, and I think it was just like, I'm exhausted today, and I was feeling it. So I was already down a little bit in energy. And then I decided I'm going to go check YouTube comments to respond to people and see what's going on with my YouTube subscribers. I just hit 77,000 just before the end of the year here on my Heart Breathings channel. And there was a comment from someone on a video from 6 years ago. And I'm like, why do I like, it isn't a comment from 6 years ago. It's from like last week. From a video I posted 6 years ago where they were being just really nasty about, well, you say you're a successful author, but you use the word less instead of the word fewer. And I would never read a book by someone who's so uneducated, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, why this? I said, this is an opportunity for me because I can either let this derail me and I can respond, I can defend myself, I can whatever, or I can just let it go. Like, I can delete it. I could do whatever. Apparently I said I write less books, and they were like, less isn't how you say it. You write fewer books. But I'm like, you know what? This is why we have editors. Actually, a lot of authors are not great at grammar, believe it or not. I deleted the comment because you know what I thought? I don't even need this. And I'm not even going to let it sit and like, this is just how I speak. And if I can't be perfect on one of my first like 6 YouTube videos I ever created in my life, then, let it go. But yeah, how people talk is not how they write. And it's just a mean comment. But like, does it really matter to my future? Does it really matter to who I'm trying to be that this person thinks I'm an idiot? No. Like, why am I allowing that kind of thing to bother me ever. And I know that it's partially because as humans, we're wired for pack mentality, that we're like wired to be loved. And I know my history, but it just was a moment of realization of like every time something happens, I have a choice to say, is this something that I'm going to let bother me? Or is this just something I'm going to say, whatever, fine. I mean, she basically was like, I just would never read your books. And I just kind of like, well, I'm so glad you're not going to read my books because you'd probably be picking apart my grammar like my Aunt Barbara ever did. And I don't really need that in my life. So I just was like, you know what? Okay. I get to choose. I get to decide what I let bother me when I'm aware of it and when I've grown as much as I have. Now I'm hit up. I don't think I always was able to choose, but I think I'm hitting a point where I'm like, I get to choose what I let bother me. And I'm ready to step into a period where I'm like, you're free to that opinion and it is incorrect the way I used it. Please don't read my books and move on. Like there's billions of people in the world and I'm here to serve the people that love me, not the people that don't. Like, why does it matter? And I'm just understanding, like when I say, understand why you want it and think about what you really want. Thank you, Crystal. You are so sweet. I think you are just incredible. You have been giving membership so much, and I appreciate that. Yes, a good time for the Smile File or your P&T book. So that is a choice that I could do. So Angela put together a list of, or a whole book of people talking about Publish and Thrive and what a difference it's made in their lives. So it's like, I can make a choice, and this is kind of goes back to a routine that I can make a choice when I'm feeling low or I'm low energy to either focus on comments like that really in the grand scheme of things, I might have never read it. There's probably mean things being posted about people on the internet that they never see all the time. It doesn't really matter, right? And and I can let it go like it never existed. And I could choose to say, well, you know what? I'm going to go in and look at these nice comments that people wrote about this course for people that actually know me and start moving on with my life and start feeling good and choose to feel good. And that is important to me. So kind of a side note here. If a membership is gifted to you, by the way, you just now are a member for, I believe it's a 30-day membership. So you're a member of the Broken Chapter Society. So when we get off of this live stream call, you can go to the membership tab on my YouTube channel and it will show you like posts and behind the scenes and videos and things. I don't know at your level what you'll get, but there's various things that you will get access to on the back end. And then if you want to subscribe after 30 days, you can, but it's not like it's going to auto charge you. Yes, another decade of life. Me too. I'm not closing quite in on it, but 48. We're almost there. We're getting there. Yeah, bye. Evie has been obsessed with Shake It Off, Taylor's version lately. And so I'm like, yes, like I get it. Taylor Swift probably has received more negative stuff about her relationships than just about anybody. And what does she do with it? She turns it into best-selling career, billions of dollar career. And I just think, okay, when I think about what is really important in the grand scheme of things, like who I want to become and what is the outcome I'm really looking for, that is the thing that brings my routines and my future into clarity. And so when we start thinking about like New Year's resolutions, goals, manifesting, whatever you want to call it, whatever we want to bring and transform our lives into, the place that I start is, why do I want this? So I have that clear vision of who I want to be. I have allowed myself to play small because I'm afraid of people like that. And I'm done with it. I'm setting an emotional boundary with it to say I am no longer going to let that derail me for more than an instant. And I'm going to choose different. And as I start thinking about what I want and who I want to be, I can create for myself a very clear vision of that outcome. And then I can start sort of reverse engineering the outcome that I want and saying what routines and foundations will support that version of me, and having kind of a game plan for how I'm going to deal with certain things, as well as a game plan for exactly what I want my mornings to be designed like, and my energy and how I want to feel. So this morning I woke up low energy, not feeling great. Not a good time to be checking YouTube comments because you never know when something ugly is going to be there. Not a good time to be checking emails because maybe I'm going to respond in a, not great customer service kind of way when I'm not in a great mood and I'm feeling low or something. So like making sure that I am lifting my mood before I do something like responding to comments or even reading them or allowing that. But also having that front and center, that vision of my outcome, and asking myself when some rando comments something about my grammar or whatever, like right or wrong, is it going to make a difference when I have that outcome 5 years from now? No, it's not even going to be a non, like it'll be nothing. And so don't let it bother me today because it won't bother me in the future, right? I saw something about Rebecca Yarros. I've been watching her interviews and can't believe what she's been faced with. I can't imagine being ready for that amount of attention. I know. I think she has been catapulted into enormous fame this year, and I'm sure that comes with some hardships. And, Colleen Hoover is the same. Like she was catapulted into this fame and she hasn't written books in years because of it. And it's something to navigate for sure. And I want to try to put those foundations under me, regardless of whether I end up with some kind of high level of fame or not. Like I want to show up as my best self right now as I am. And I want to not feel like I need that level of fame to prove myself to anybody, but just to focus on what we're doing here and having fun doing it. Um, so know why you want it. Get a clear idea of your outcome that you want. The second thing, I just wrote down like 10 steps. The second thing is to really understand and identify the obstacles to becoming the person that you want to be. So one of the big things right now to figure out what kind of routines I need to develop is saying, where are my pain points right now? So I talked about it at the very beginning of like, I will say, oh, I'm going to get that stuff out to you guys in November. And then here it is November or December and it's not done. January, it'll just be getting done. So like promising things before I fully have them figured out and then feeling guilty about it. That is an enormous source of stress for me. So how can I stop doing that? Number one, I don't know that I can stop promising things completely, but if we want to talk Taylor Swift, like she didn't announce Tortured Poets Department before the novel, before the album was done. And then she was able to surprise and delight her fans by it being a surprise double album. But she hasn't revealed any news about Reputation, Taylor's version, right? And so maybe that's because she doesn't want to work on it right now. So she didn't announce it and then have to do it. So I'm going to work on holding things back until it's time. But it also is my personality to want to promise. And so I got to figure that out. I got to figure out how to get excited about stuff, but not over promise and just say, hey, it's going to be months, whatever. It'll be fine. It'll be coming when it's coming. But try to understand and identify what are the true obstacles to me writing more? What are the true obstacles to me having better energy or being able to show up with 100% energy, more often than not? That can be obstacles with your schedule, your time, but it can also be things like your beliefs and your mindset. And oh, that's a good idea actually, because this so Casey says maybe consider making announcements to a small group of people support you instead of to the public, because that could be one of the ways, like, okay, to my top tier of BCS, who are my like top people that I know are big fans, saying like, hey, this is coming, but I can't promise exactly when, kind of gets the it like takes over the need to tell people, but not promise it to the large group, that kind of thing. Um, exactly. I'm the one who buys a gift and then says, do you want to see what I got you? It's like Evie getting into the car when she bought these rings, right? She had all the little packages and she's like, Mommy, I got you rings. But I didn't know what they looked like. And I'm just like, you're not. And George was like, I told you not to tell her. But she's just so excited that it's hard. It's hard to hold it back. But I think so sticking with the 10 steps before we end up running out of time, knowing why you want it and getting a clear, I think the point of the outcome and knowing the outcome and thinking about how you're going to feel when you achieve that life, when you achieve that thing. Like if I think about the end of 2025 and how it will feel to have written these 4 books of a Mirror of Shadows series and have read them on YouTube, have built my Broken Chapter Society up to maybe 1,000 members, have released those 4 books and finished book 12 and run a Kickstarter. Like if I could do all of that while also doing all of my courses and everything else that are going on, I just think like that would be an amazing outcome. But it's only an amazing outcome if I feel really good and I haven't burned myself out trying to do it. So I would much rather only release 2 books next year and feel good than release 5 and feel burned out, right? So that is the outcome that I want. How do I get it? Number 1. And number 2, how do I identify the obstacles so that I can eliminate them? And one of them is mindset. So understanding that part of the reason that I overpromise things is because there is a little child trauma in me that says, if I don't please you, you will abandon me or you will hurt me. And so I feel like I have to, when I get excited for something, try to make you excited for it too, so that you don't leave me. And that is a very vulnerable, horrible thing to admit. However, it's the truth. And I've got to work on that mindset of trusting that the people that love me will stay, even if I disappoint you, even if, because you're here for reasons that you can't, you're not going to abandon me. I'm not going to disappoint you to the point of abandonment. And if someone leaves, that it's because that was not someone that was meant to be in my orbit anymore, not because I'm like a bad person or whatever. You're stuck with me, chick. I know. Same. But just feeling like, okay, I am safe enough to be myself and to not have to promise more than I can physically deliver. I don't have to above and beyond every single thing I do to the point of hurting myself in order to get people to stay. That I can just be myself, that I can take time off if I need it, that I can slow down if I need it, and working on that as a mindset. Time is also a thing, but energy is another big obstacle. PCOS means brain fog. It means sometimes difficult sleep issues. I have sleep apnea. Thankfully, I do have a CPAP machine now, which I have only had for about a year. But like working on my health to not have brain fog, pains, mood swings, like just all those different things, even just like cysts and, just other things that cause problems that I end up having to go to the doctor for and lose days of work. And just trying to get that health in order and get my energy up would be such a game changer. And so trying to first say, what's the outcome I want? And then identify what are the obstacles? Like, why am I not getting that outcome? Right. And being honest with myself about why that outcome isn't here in all aspects of my life. Then basically creating a ladder from here to there, which is, if you've heard of this before, game board, like Your Path Forward. Some of you just took that class, and I think it was really so much better than it was the first time I ran it. So thank you to everybody that joined us, throughout that class, because I think it went really well. And I've been working on my own game boards, but you can think of it like a ladder. So if you say, I eventually, by the end of 2025, want to be, having better energy, having to write a lot more, like getting the opportunity to write a lot more and being more consistent. If I said those are the 3 big outcomes that I want, then I can't just wake up January 1st and become all of those things, be consistent writer, get up every day, have that energy. It's something that's going to take time to build toward. And so how do I create that path without putting too much on my plate? Because when we set up routines, raise your hand if you're guilty of trying to like set up a morning routine that's 14,000 steps, and then it's impossible to stick with because you're like, I want to fix my whole life all at once. I'm going to have a morning routine, an evening routine, a daytime routine, and I'm going to start it all at once. I'm going to change my health. I'm going to change what I'm eating. I'm going to start exercising. Thank you, K Journey, for letting me know I'm not alone. I think so many of us are like, when we get ready for change, we're like, I need to change it all as fast as possible. And it is very difficult. Yeah, I see hands going up. It's very difficult to slow down because it's like, if you go too slow, you don't see results. Like, I want to see results. Let's go. Let's move forward. So part of it is creating a ladder so that you know, okay, this is my first step, but I will add to it next, and I will add to it, and I will add to it. So I'm just climbing the ladder. Maybe the first step is, so for me, I was telling George, it's sort of like pulling a thread to see where it goes. Because if I want more energy and a more consistent writing routine, I need better sleep. So that's the next step backwards. Okay. So if I need better sleep and I want to be getting up earlier in the morning, but I still need a full 8 hours of sleep, I have to actually go to bed earlier the night before. So then how do I go to bed earlier the night before if I feel like I'm going to be missing out on my only free time of the day, because that is my free time? Well, we've gotten really lax on, like, part of the reason I don't get to bed the time I want is because we've gotten lax on Evie's nighttime routine. And I feel like she's not getting as much sleep as she should, because she should really be going to bed more like 7:30, but it's been closer to 8:30 lately because it's like getting her in the bath, following her routines. But as she has gotten sick, we started back at 7:30, like getting her in the bath earlier and getting her to bed earlier. And it has been really good for her to be in bed earlier. And then, oh my gosh, I'm downstairs by 8 p.m. That allows me to get to bed earlier. So it's kind of like continue to pull the thread until you find the source of the first routine that's going to make a difference. And then say, okay, I'm going to start with making sure Evie's in the bath by 7:30 and in bed before 8 p.m. Then, sorry. Then once we have that routine down, that's the first rung on the ladder. So instead of waking up January 1st feeling like I have to start waking up at 6 a.m., if I want to create a life where I'm getting up at 6 a.m., it has to start with Evie going to bed at 7:30. And so getting our nighttime routine back on track is the first rung on the ladder. The second rung on the ladder then will be me making sure I'm asleep and in bed by 10 p.m. with good, like all of my routines and stuff. And really, you could pull it back even further, because it's like, wait a minute, why did we get lax on her bedtime routine? Part of it is because baseball practices and other things meant we were eating later. And so that late night, like going from 5:30 eating time to 6:30 eating time some days, really pushed back the whole nighttime routine. So it's like, okay, let's get better and set good alarms for making sure dinner happens at the time we want it to, so that the rest of the routine goes smoothly. So that's a place that I can identify that George can help me, because he's really good at setting alarms and he cooks most of the dinners. So like following it back to what's the biggest thing that can have an impact, and then creating a ladder of success. So like dinners this time every night, Evie in bed at a good time so that I have a little bit of free time before I go to sleep, getting good sleep hygiene, making sure that I use my CPAP every night, that it's always clean, that I always have all the stuff I need, like the water that I need and other things like that. Even making sure that my bedroom stays clean and organized, because when it gets like, I am a messy person in my bedroom, and it gets like planner stuff and stickers and all that on the floor, clothes thrown on the floor. And it's like, that has to change, because I know that when my bedroom is really nice and clean, I sleep better. And so identifying those obstacles and just those little tiny routines that are really easy, changing that then helps me get up earlier in the morning and get off to a better start, so that I have time to exercise and get to writing. So kind of thinking, yeah, root cause analysis. That is such a great way to explain it, because I didn't have a word for it. Root cause analysis. Yeah, what's the root cause of why I'm not getting up in the morning? And instead of saying, let me just I'm going to force myself by sheer force of will to get up at 6 a.m. and then being too tired to follow through with it. Let me track it back to the root cause of why it's more difficult for me to get enough sleep if I'm getting up at Oh, it's an IT term. Yeah, George probably would know that too. Very cool. That is really, really nice. And asking yourself questions like this. What if we did the bath before dinner? It might work. We could try that, right? So trying the bath before dinner and seeing if that works and trying it, experimenting with it until we find that sort of routine that works, and not closing your mind off to being like, well, that's never going to work, but trying it and just seeing. Um, and then understanding that there's going to be certain things. Somebody said they have insomnia, tight schedule with the kids' school. Like there might be some things that you realize that you're like, okay, these things are non-negotiable. I can't actually fix that right now. So how can I work around it in other ways? And being accepting of the limitations, but also being willing to play around with other things that you can change. So build your ladder and then start moving gradually toward it, and having some kind of way to say to yourself, here's how I'm tracking my progress that is visual. So having a visual way to say, here's my habits. Here's all the, like, you could start out with a habit tracker for me that says, okay, how many nights in a row this week did we get Evie to bed at 7:30 or 8 o'clock or whatever? And having that time and having that habit tracker, and then don't break the chain. And once I have that, maybe going for 14 days, I'm ready to add the next rung on the ladder, which is me going to bed by 10 p.m. So then I start tracking that habit. But having a visual way of saying, these are the steps I'm going to follow, so that you can see your progress moving forward. And whether you do it on the wall, or you do it in your planner, or you do it in Notion, or wherever you want to do it, a Kanban board, is so helpful. And this motivates me a lot too, is not breaking the chain. It's like when you get into that routine. Now, the alternate for me can also be true, and I have to be aware of that, is that if I don't break the chain, but then I suddenly do break the chain, it's sometimes very difficult for me uh to get back on the train, because it's all or nothing mentality, which I know when I ask myself, what are my obstacles? That's a mindset obstacle of like, if I fail once, it's all out the window, and I need a better mindset of flexibility. Then number 5, I have 10 tips, so we have 3 minutes. Number 5 is to work to shift your identity and remove your limiting beliefs. And I have not had a chance to update Manifest Your Best Year. I think Renee went in and changed things to 2025, which I appreciate. But I haven't had a chance to record that because I'm like, oh, I'm so out of breath, and I've been putting so much energy into live streaming that I couldn't do it. But I do have some notes. One of the things that I'm going to be adding to that course is some information about scripting. So there'll be a new scripting video coming this week. And then another section on identifying and shifting limiting beliefs. So that will be coming in. Thank you, Renee. And then also a section on Delulu until it's true Lulu, which we talked about before, just having almost like fake it till you make it mentality. So number 1, knowing why you want it and getting clear. Number 2, identifying the obstacles to why it's not happening. Number 3 is to create your ladder of success. Number 4 is to begin working that ladder gradually. And then number 5 is working to shift your identity and remove those limiting beliefs, which we won't have a lot of time to go into. But one of the things that you can do when it comes to shifting limiting beliefs is say, if we're talking about morning routines and writing early in the morning, or, whatever, being more consistent with my writing. When I think about that, and I think of myself in relation to that, what are the thoughts that come up? And what are the arguments that come up in my head as to why I can't be Rebecca Yarros famous, or why I can't be someone who follows through on my plan? So there's all kinds of things that might come up if I start journaling about that would start to identify some limiting beliefs. So for example, something like, well, I don't write sexy enough romance to be famous in that way, and I'm never going to be popular if I don't write sexy romance. That is a limiting belief that's not true, right? Because there's plenty of people who do write and plenty of people who don't, and there's readers for everybody. And so like identifying some of those limiting beliefs, or things like I can't be consistent. I'm terrible at being consistent. That's a limiting belief. I can absolutely train myself to be consistent with my writing. Um, so shifting some of those limiting beliefs and shifting my identity. So there's kind of a famous um, example, and now I'm trying to think exactly where it comes from, but I know I've heard this before in multiple different, it might be a Jim Rohn thing, but like if you ask someone who is trying to quit smoking if they want a cigarette, someone who answers, "No, thanks, I'm trying to quit," is very different from someone who says, "No, thanks, I'm not a smoker," right? Because if you're trying to quit, you're relying on your willpower. But if you have shifted your identity to where you are just no longer a smoker, it's not a be all solution, but it is like, no thanks, that's not who I am is very different from no thanks, I'm trying to change. And so shifting our identity at a core level of being like, I am a runner, or I am the kind of person who gets up early in the morning. So maybe a limiting belief for me is I'm not good at mornings. I've always had a difficult time with mornings. That's a limiting belief. It's true, but to think that I can't get good at mornings is difficult. But I have said for so long, I'm a night owl. I'm not a morning person. And I have repeated that into my subconscious mind so many times. And so, in order to shift my beliefs of wanting to get up early with better energy, I need to stop saying, I have trouble with mornings. I don't wake up well. I'm not a morning person. And instead start saying, I'm a morning person. I love mornings, and it may be delusional. It might not be true yet, but to kind of try on that identity for a change, right? Um, and then number 6 is to create a routine menu. So we're gonna have to come back to this, but this is something that Lavendare was talking about recently, and it just I really really loved it because it is one of those things of if you were to get up in the morning and try to have a morning routine that was 14 steps, it might be too much. But if you had a morning routine menu for yourself where you said, I'm going to get up 15 minutes early and I'm going to pick one thing off the menu, it could be meditation, it could be a little bit of reading, it could be a little bit of time on the treadmill, but feel like you're still moving forward because you're doing one of those things on your menu every morning as a step ladder to having more of a morning routine, I think was really interesting. Step number 7 is to decide your non-negotiables. So basically saying, no matter what, I'm going to be in bed by 10 p.m. I might not be able to control how I feel in the morning because of various health factors, but my non-negotiable is when that alarm goes off at 10, I am closing my eyes and turning off the lights. Number 8 is to have visual cues and reminders. So that kind of goes back to the habit tracking, and it goes back to the idea of having some kind of visual way to track your progress and make sure that you have. So I have vision boards pretty much all over my dang house and all over my planners to keep reminding myself of why I'm trying to change my life, because it's not going to just magically change. I have to be the orchestrator of that change. And I know I'm rushing through these, but we'll come back to them. Number 9 is to build in accountability and figure what it is that you need to help hold you accountable. So some people are self-accountable really easily. Like my husband is like that. I am not. Yay, welcome, Rachel. Um, and having that sort of accountability to other people of like if I that's part of why I've set up this time with Becca, the plot fairy, because or fairy plot mother, because I know if she's expecting chapters from me on Monday morning, I'm much more likely to have new chapters for her, and it will become it moves up in the priority list because I owe it to someone else. Whereas if I was just setting that deadline for myself, it wouldn't work. So building in things that, oh, you just updated your account. Well, welcome again. Welcome back. Welcome again. Welcome to the new update. So building in that accountability. For some people, it's rewards. For some people, it's punishments that if you break the chain, you can't go to the movie on Friday. It could be other people that are holding you accountable. It could be accountability group. It could be habit tracking. If it motivates you to see that chain, make a chain, right? I used to say I hated mornings and I'm a night owl, but now I work early. So I get up and write before work. I figured out it's not so much that I work better at night, but that I work better when it's dark and everything is quiet. So for now, that means 4 or 5 in the morning. I love that shift. Oh my gosh. Because you know what? I think that is true for me too. that I just love writing when there's no distractions and nobody's really on social media, and my kids are asleep, and I really like this. Dun dun dun. That's really beautiful. Um, if you naturally rebel against alerts, so this is kind of like knowing yourself. If you naturally rebel against alerts, or you naturally rebel against certain kinds of structure or certain kinds of like habit tracking or other things, then you have to figure out what does work for you, right? What, if you rebel against this, how can you hack your own system to find a way to motivate yourself? So maybe you rebel against alerts and structure, but you really run toward freedom and rewards or something like that. So trying to figure out what does work for you, like what's your currency. I think we talked about that before. And then number 10 is to have a restart protocol, which is basically saying I have a almost like a routine to restart my routine. So if you have an all or nothing mentality and you tend to be like, if you mess up once, like I've been writing every day, but I had 1 week I went on vacation and I screwed up my entire routine, and you come home, you have a choice. How do I get back to my routine, or do I just stay off the chain? You know? And so having a restart protocol for yourself where you say, okay, if I fall off the wagon, here's how I restart. Here's how I get myself excited again for restarting the chain. And I those are my 10 tips, I guess, for trying to create routines for yourself. And we can talk more about it next time. However, I will not be here next week for Friday Coffee Chat, sadly, for our very first of the year, because I will be in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I would love to do another meetup. So if you are in the Raleigh area, let me know. And I am probably going to do a meetup. I have emails from people that were at the previous one, so I'm going to reach out to some people. Chocolate works. Sally, I love that. Chocolate works. Just having that, some kind of restart protocol, having a way to get back into it when you fall down. And also, it can also, like, 11th bonus tip is having a review period where if you've been really trying to force yourself into something and it's just not happening, let's review again. Let's see if we can do another root cause analysis to see why isn't this working. Maybe it's because it's just too hard to get her into bed at that time. And now I'm going to have to make some different sacrifices, or I'm going to have to do something a little differently. But either way, I feel like 2025 is going to be a year for me where I am feeling, I'm feeling a call in my heart to set up some of those foundational things, to love myself more, to step into a feeling of safety that I know everything's going to work out for me and everything's going to be okay, even if I mess up, even if I don't get books out faster, even if like e- I'm okay, I'm going to be okay. And just really feeling into that safety and allowing myself to anchor into it so that I can radiate joy and happiness and love, and it's going to be great. So yay. Oh, you'll be in Orlando. That's going to be so fun. New Year's at Hogwarts. I've never been to Universal. So we're probably going to do a Broken Chapter Society virtual meetup for New Year's, but I'm going to post on the inside the membership to get some ideas as when is a good time. Flexing that thermostat. Exactly. I feel like there's conversations that have been happening in various live streams that I keep forgetting where we talked about stuff. Learned that I have a routine reset. I was on vacation for a week, and normally when not having my routine, it takes 2 to 3 weeks, but it took me a week to get back in the groove. Yeah, it sounds like you have a lot of stuff figured out that we could learn from you, because I think that routine reset is really important thing to have. But hopefully this was helpful and it was supportive for you, and that you are excited for the new year. I'm excited for the new year. I'm excited for all that it brings, for our community and for myself and my family, and for all of us collectively as a group. So thank you for being here. Thank you for this amazing year of live streams and finally a book release, and all the support that you guys have given me, and the Broken Chapter Society. Just it means a lot. So I really and truly love you all. I think 2025 is going to be really great. So yay, welcome. So come join us at the Broken Chapter if you want. We're going to do probably a New Year's live stream. And if you are not in the Broken Chapter Society, I will see you in 2 weeks for whatever that January is, 11th, or I don't know, whatever that day is. But I'm wishing you all a happy new year, and you have all my love and all my heart. All right, we're going to go check my mail. So I know some of you sent me some stuff. So thank you to anyone who sent gifts, and your books should be on the way soon. All right. Goodbye, everybody. Happy New Year.